on, it's just weird. Yeah, it just fits weird.
I'm going to stand on one side of him, I'll stand on the other side of him.
Hey, do you want to chat?
At any point, sure.
Okay.
Wait just about one more minute.
So Wynn is not coming.
Hey, Howie, how do I look? George.
But it's like a press.
You look like an aviator.
So if Gowan,
Tommy wants to turn it into a
Watsak's
press.
That's why
not
you
here.
can't see me rolling my eyes when Sonny's
McKern, Senator Bullock. Wait, Senator
I
Bullock.
roll when I stick too.
Not here.
You want us scooting over? Is that what you're doing?
Where's Bullock at?
I want him to be in the shot. Yes, sir.
How about right there?
Yes, sir. No.
How about between the two old guys?
No, I can't see you.
You have to be more specific with this crowd.
Yeah.
Well, we want to take your shot. That's why.
All right, 1 minute.
1 minute?
It's all relative.
No, she was giving you a different finger.
Really?
It's amazing how old age keeps.
See, Howie, this is the perfect example of how you see everything different than everyone else.
That's why people pay me.
Hey, pay
They pay you for a mushroom experience.
Right.
President, we're good.
Okay, Senator Bullock is here. Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you all for being here this morning. As you are well aware, Senator Hobbs recently vetoed the top What did I say? Okay, let me start over.
One of those
I did serve in the Senate with her, so that was a brilliant stuff. So as you all are well aware, recently Governor Hobbs vetoed the first bill that went to her desk. That was no coincidence, it was the first bill. One of the top issues our constituents are talking to us about is the border and border security. Meanwhile, she's talking about things that constituents don't even care about. And when we sent her the top priority, we fast-tracked that bill to her desk. It was the first bill that hit her desk. She vetoed the bill. As you may recall, on opening day, when she gave her speech, she said that the federal government was not doing their job, that President Biden was failing us at the border. Well, that's great. I appreciated what she said, and that was encouraging. But Governor Hobbs, talk is cheap. Sign our bills. So we're here today to talk about next steps. I don't even have to tell you that this is everywhere, that this problem is affecting everyone. We have a large city crossing the border every month. As Republicans, we wholly welcome legal immigration, and we understand all of the benefits that come with legal immigration. What we're talking about here is the illegal act. We are talking about broken laws. We are talking about fentanyl. We're specifically talking about the criminals and the crime and the trafficking and the people who are dying, the humanitarian crisis. These are the things we're talking about. Well, we have good news for the governor. We're going to allow her to keep her promise, or keep at least what she said she was going to do and what needed to be done of protecting our border. We're going to help her protect the border, because even though she made a huge mistake and signed the forced border bill, we have several more that are coming her way. And we're going to take a few minutes to highlight some of those. We are not going to abandon Arizona, and Arizona is the front line for the rest of our country. So we're not going to abandon America. We are going to continue to take this issue, bring solutions, and we are going to put solutions on her desk. So today we have several people that are going to talk about some of these solutions that are heading her way. We can briefly highlight some of those, and then at the conclusion we'll open up for a few questions from everybody. So we're going to go ahead and start with Representative Montenegro.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for my colleagues, Senate and House, that are here as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a crisis at the border. We are in the middle of a border crisis. Let me repeat that. Estamos en una crisis en la frontera. It is unacceptable. Now, I sponsored the mirror bill, Senator Schamp's Senate bill in the House, House Bill 2821. And I have to tell you, it is unacceptable that our own governor won't give Arizona a fighting chance at the border. When illegal immigration is occurring at record numbers and is harming our communities with illegal drug and human smuggling. Now, this bill was modeled after a bill that is already going through the Texas legislature, and it's working its way through the courts. But Governor Hobbs won't even allow Arizona the opportunity for its day in court. Now, she's saying she wants to do something about the border, but what she's asked so far is only money from the federal government, when we know that the federal government is going to continue to ignore not only its job, but ignore any help that it can send towards the border, where we have our kids dying because of the fentanyl crisis, because of this drug smuggling and drug activity. I got to tell you that the courts will recognize the sovereignty, the sovereign authority that states have to pass meaningful border reform in light of those in light of the gross negligence that's happening because of the open border policies that the Biden administration and the Democrats continue to push through. The Arizona Constitution explicitly commands our state government to exercise its authority, to exercise its sovereign authority, which is consistent with the 10th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. And it is unquestionable. It is unquestionable that the federal government has abdicated its duty to secure our border and to regulate this crisis that we're having because of illegal immigration at the border. Governor Hobbs' veto pen leaves the state of Arizona with no ability to protect its citizens against the invasion at our southern border, or to mitigate the damage, the crime, the lives that are being lost, the economic consequences that are being caused because of illegal immigration. And I will end by saying this. The 10th Amendment enumerates the powers to the federal government. And it is evident that not only is the federal government doing a bad job, but it is refusing to do its job. It is siding with illegal immigrants, illegal aliens. It is, hold on a second, I'll get there. It is siding with cartels. Last year and this year, we've sponsored legislation to designate drug cartels as terrorist organizations. And Governor Hobbs vetoed that last year. It's telling us that she would rather side with drug cartels and illegal activity at the border instead of Arizonans, Arizona citizens, and Arizona families. We as Republicans are going to continue to fight for Arizonans and for their families as long as we can. Thank you. Mr. President.
Thank you. Recent polls by the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post all confirm what we all know. The number one concern of Americans is illegal immigration, in particular, the porous border that allows millions of illegals to pour across and cause chaos in our cities and throughout the country. Those polls also show that 66% of the American people think that President Biden's border policies are wrong and bad. It's time for Governor Hobbs to join with us and those 66% and have Arizona take the lead in enforcing immigration to the extent that we can, even if it means challenging any challenges that appeal this to the Supreme Court. We have a new Supreme Court, and I believe that stepping up and having state involvement will, in fact, be ruled constitutional. We owe our constituents, we owe our country, at least to try to do that, and I think we can.
Thank you. Senator Gale.
Thank you, Mr. President, members, for being out here, press. You know, again, when the federal government fails in its duties to protect its citizens and its borders, those duties fall upon the state. And you have many representatives sitting right here, senators, representatives of this state that believe in making sure that we protect our citizens, our constituency. I have a broad constituency down there at the border. I am at the border. I live 20 miles from the border, as we spoke before. We've had you in front of us before talking about this issue. And I've invited you to come down, and I've not heard from anybody. I'm telling you now. You want to come down and see what it looks like at the border? You're all welcome. Just ask. I'll take you down there. I have a contingency going down here soon. I'm going to take them down and show what's happening down there. We're going to have Sheriff Daniels. He's going to take us across. We're going to talk to a bunch of ranchers. I'm going to talk to my constituents, my citizens down that way. And then, again, probably have another press conference and talk to you all once again. Let you know what's happening. Unless you want to come down. Like I said, you're more than welcome. My bill's coming up just as well. It's the unlawful flight bill that we need a signature on. We need to pass it out of the House first, so we need to get it out of there. It's in Judiciary. Come on over. See the Judiciary Committee hearing. We need to get it out of there, get it sent up to the governor, get a signature on that. What that's going to do is help prevent people from wanting to come down for a quick buck from the cartel to get paid so they could pick up illegal aliens, so they could pick up drugs, so they could do the cartel's movement of human trafficking. We need to stop this stuff. And the unlawful flight, it'll get around in the world that they're in, especially when they're in jail for this, in prison for it, saying you shouldn't do that or you're going to get hit with a hefty fine, and that's going to be imprisonment. And so hopefully we can get this across the table, and I hope you guys will help us with that just as well. From my constituents to you, let's start reporting on this heavily. I know nationally it's starting to get an eye on it. Needs to get heavier and heavier. And just like Senator Kavanaugh talked about, if it's not number one issue, it's number two, because we know the economy needs some work just as well. But again, right now we're talking about getting this border secured, and that will help tremendously make sure that our citizens are safe. You got the human trafficking, which leads to sex trafficking, which leads to slavery. You got the cartel moving the fentanyl across our border, which is killing our people. We need to stop this. Then I will show you guys what they do to our local citizens when they cross over into their properties. Come on down with me. Appreciate that. Thank you, guys.
Senator Bullock.
Well, good afternoon. It's always lovely to be out here. Hopefully you guys are reporting the truth today. My name is Shauna Bullock. I'm a state senator in District 2. I wanted to talk a little bit about two pieces of legislation that I have before us. One will be in House Maps this afternoon. It's SCR 1042. It's our way to show that we're standing with Texas. When the Biden administration abandoned its constitutional duty to protect Americans by refusing to secure our southern border, there wouldn't be a need for us to even sponsor SCR 1042. By abdicating its authority under Article 4, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution, it has given the states under Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, the right to defend themselves against an invasion. Over 165 different nations are represented by the illegals crossing our border. These individuals have not been vetted. Many are also connected to various crime sprees, like Senator Gowan had just mentioned, from their homeland, and they were released from prison and now are committing crimes here. We can just look to Georgia for the most recent one. According to a December report, U.S. officials processed an estimated 300,000 people at the U.S. border with Mexico. This figure is the highest number ever recorded in 1 month of record-level border encounters. The other bill that I want to talk about, it's up in the Senate today for a vote. It's SCR 1021. It's our way of giving the voters a chance to voice their opinion how children are not for sale. I'm a mother, I'm a wife, and I'm a protector of our children. I stand here with Representative Bliss. We're here to stop child sex trafficking of minors across Arizona. Human trafficking is not specific to any age, race, or gender, and it occurs throughout the rural, suburbs, and even urban areas across our Grand Canyon state. With a wide open southern border and derelict government agencies, cases of human trafficking are on the rise in Arizona. According to the Attorney General's office, the average age of entry into sex trafficking in Arizona is 14 years old. We stand united to send a message to those disgusting animals responsible for selling and buying our children's innocence from them. Arizona's children are our most valuable resource. We would like everyone to know our children are not for sale. So please join us in this fight and our most precious resource, and our neighbor's daughters or our neighbor's son. We need to protect them.
Thank you, Senator Bullock. Representative Bliss.
Yeah, I just want to add, because I'm carrying the House mirror version, that our children in Arizona are not for sale. This is an important bill because of our porous border, but I'm also up here to speak on behalf of Vice Chair of the House Judiciary Committee. We're hearing quite a few bills that is going to give law enforcement and our citizens the support and the tools they need, some of which you've heard here today, but there's a package of bills. And I would ask the person in the 9th floor back there, tear down the wall between her and her constituents, our constituents. This is the #1 issue with voters in Arizona, and that's border security. So pay attention, watch the bills going through the House Judiciary Committee as well as MAPS and our other House chambers and committees. We have a lot going on here. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Representative Bliss. Very well,
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Senator Janae Shamp, LD 29. I am the seatmate to Representative Steve Montenegro. I sponsored SB 1231, and there's a few pieces that I'd like to say. First and foremost, all we're trying to do is stand for the citizens of the state of Arizona. Remember, it's the states that were formed first. It is up to us to protect our citizens when the federal government fails to do their job. Every state is a border state. Ask Laken Riley's family. God rest her soul. I take that one quite personal. Nursing student out for a jog in the morning on campus, brutally murdered. This should have never happened. There are plenty of those stories all across the country. And it's up to Arizona to follow and take the lead. We're following with what Texas did with SB4, and we're going to do it here. And I implore Newsom to work on a bill with his legislature. We need to stop this, because only more children are going to die, more children are going to be trafficked, more fentanyl is coming across here. When we talk about homelessness, when we talk about the SMI community, we need to stop the drugs. The only way to do that is for us to be able to give law enforcement the tools that they need. Right now, the handcuffs are on our local law enforcement. Those are the wrong people to be wearing handcuffs in this situation. The time has come for us to stand together. There's 3 sanctuaries in this bill. There are 4 affirmative defenses. Support House Bill 2821. Reach out to the governor's office. Implore her. 38% of Americans polled the #1. 38%, that is the highest that we've ever seen one topic poll. The time has come for the state of Arizona to stand strong for its citizens and for America. This is a border crisis. This is an emergency. Thank you.
Senator Shamp. Well said. Gina. Mr. Montenegro, or anybody? We got a couple more, and then we'll open it up.
Thank you for being here. I'm Gina Swoboda. I'm the chair of the Republican Party of Arizona. The #1 duty of the government is to provide safety and security for the citizens of the country. The people give up their God-given rights to the government in order that they may be protected. The Biden administration is intentionally failing. Secretary Mayorkas, President Biden are making very conscious choices to leave the border open and endanger everyone in this country. I recognize that people have compassion. I have compassion. Everyone standing here has compassion for people. It is not an act of compassion to leave the people that are being trafficked vulnerable to being abused or to be sold. It is not an act of compassion to leave the children of this country to be victimized the way Laken Riley was murdered. Action has to be taken. The people are asking for help. The states have a responsibility. The majority in this legislature is acting in order to protect the people, both the people that are coming and the people that are here. And I would ask everyone to look into your heart. Think about the people that are being murdered every day. Think about the fentanyl. Think about Laken's family. What about the law enforcement officer that just got mowed down? What about the 2-year-old child that was run over and that was killed? Compassion has a price. We have a duty to the people coming and the people that are here. God bless you. God bless Arizona. Thank you to the majority.
So I want to make sure you're aware of 2 more bills of sponsors that are running late or weren't able to make it here. One is Senate Bill 1344, that is felony murder, fentanyl sentencing. That will add felony murder to situations where somebody is selling, distributing, where fentanyl is involved and somebody dies. The second one Senator, is SB 1608. That would establish the use of an electronic device to aid in human smuggling as a Class 2 felony. The use of social media platforms to carry out human smuggling crimes has grown exponentially. I don't know if you guys, how many of you were here when we had the joint session on border security, but the sheriffs reported they are so unafraid because there is such a lack of enforcement. The cartels are so unafraid. They will literally publish on social media, unafraid, these jobs to use social media. They will use the social media platform to recruit people to do human smuggling. That is how unabashed and how unafraid these are. Shame on Facebook. Shame on Biden. And shame on Governor Hobbs for vetoing these types of bills. They're coming back. They're on their way up. Governor, this is your chance to put your money where your mouth is. You said it yourself. The federal government is failing us. You said it yourself. The Biden administration is failing us. And that's great talk, but talk is cheap. I get a different message when you remove containers and a barrier from our border. I get a very different message when you veto our top priority bill, the first bill we put on your desk. Why? Because this is what our constituents are talking about. They're not talking about this stuff that you've been bringing forward in your latest press release. So we implore you and ask you to help with this. The media plays a huge role in this. Please follow all these bills. Please get the word out of how important they are. And Governor Hobbs, we're still hopeful that she'll sign some of these bills.
President Peterson, Mark Lamb is behind you.
Oh, great. Perfect. Great timing. I'll turn it over to Sheriff Lamb. Thanks, sir.
Well, I came late to the game, but thank you
That's
for.
all right. That's for last.
Look, I came here to support all these senators and the good work they're doing. Look, and representatives, yes. These are all folks that are championing bills on behalf of sheriffs and law enforcement. We're dealing with this border stuff every day, folks, and I think a lot of the stuff doesn't get into the news. And these guys are down here, and these men and women are fighting hard for the people of Arizona. And we're fighting hard for not just the people of Arizona, but for the people that are being abused by the cartels every day because of this government's policies or unwillingness to close the southern border. You know, just a couple weeks ago, we had a lady we pulled out of the mountains. We were working with Border Patrol. We used our helicopter. Cartels left her for dead. We pulled a dead body out of the mountains. Yesterday was 2 more rescues. It's daily. We're dealing with more and more rescues that we use our helicopter for. We're dealing with people being smuggled on our highways. I-10, my guys are out pulling traffic stops every day. Many of those result in pursuits because these are what we call the gotaways that are trying to get away from law enforcement. So whether it's in Cochise County or whether it's in Pinal County, we're dealing with pursuits that are putting your lives, your family's lives at risk, my family's lives at risk, and my deputies' lives at risk as we try to stop these people from being smuggled in here. We're dealing with children being used as pawns. We're dealing with women being raped. We're dealing with all sorts of things, atrocities that come with these open border policies that we're failing to secure on a federal level. And I'm grateful that we at least have state senators and representatives that are willing to do something about it. And whether you like these bills or not, I am telling you firsthand experience, we need these bills in this state if we're going to protect our own state, and if frankly, if we're going to protect the lives of those innocent people who are being taken advantage of by the cartels. That's happening every single day. We have a legal process for people to come into this country. If you are a good person and you want to come into America, we encourage that, but we encourage you to do it through the legal process. If you come in here illegally or make a false asylum claim, you are only aiding and abetting in the business of the cartels, these transnational criminal organizations. So we're here in support of all the bills that these guys are running. They're helpful to us in law enforcement. I think unbeknownst to many of you, they're beneficial to you, they're beneficial to our state, and it shows that we're going in the right direction as far as how we're going to treat human beings, not just Americans, but people that are being abused by the cartels.
Yep, thank you. Sheriff. All right, well, we will open it up for a few questions. Howie.
Let me start off. It sounds like what you're planning on doing is sending, I don't know whether it's Montenegro's bill, but sending that same bill back to the governor that she vetoed. What's about isn't the definition of insanity doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result?
It would be absolutely insane for her to veto the bill again. I agree. Listen, we've seen it before. We've had bills go up that are vetoed, and they go right back, and they're vetoed. Let me tell you one bill that'll get signed that was a huge mistake by her. Nothing of this consequence, but important, the tamale bill. She'll be signing that, I guarantee you. So she should sign it. It's the right thing to do. And if the media had the right narrative with her and was pointing out the truth and will point out the truth, I'm confident she'll sign it. Another question.
Call that the priority bill. Why not make it into an HCR or an SCR and put it on the ballot and get it away from her?
Why don't we do we do have one. We do have one bill that's like that. And we may. If she won't, when she signaled to us at the beginning of session that the Biden administration was failing and that she wanted to secure our border. So the proper process as a Republican form of government is for us to, those very fine, if there's statutes, those should really be going to her.
Here, here.
Now, if we need to go around her with a constitutional amendment or statutory amendment, we will. If she won't secure our border, that's something we can do. Yes, sir, you had your hand raised?
Yeah, so what does this look like in the context of budget negotiations? I know she had her own border-related priorities. You guys have your own border-related priorities. What does that look like in context?
Well, what it looks like is we're going. This is our issue. We're going to support anything that'll secure our border. The question is she going to be willing to sign our legislation that makes a meaningful difference? Or is she just going to keep pushing for things that are just virtue signaling? That's the real question. Yes, sir.
What is the status of HCR 2060 in the Senate? We heard that it may have been tabled. Any updates on that as far as that?
Okay.
It's on the ballot.
So right now that's sitting in the Senate. We don't have an update for you. Ray.
So in terms of budget negotiations, I realize you haven't presented your budget yet, but one thing we haven't heard here is how much money you're going to put toward border sheriffs and the law enforcement that already has laws in place to make sure that they enforce the laws. And and I would put the question to you, Sheriff Lamb, did the legislature give you everything you need this year, and are they going to do it next year? And if they pass one of these laws, will you need more resources that you may not get?
A Band-Aid on a bleeding wound.
Yeah,
does
so
not stop the bleeding, right?
is that a question for Sheriff Lamb? Come on up, Sheriff Lamb.
Well, we're law enforcement. We'll always take more budget if you got it. But I'm also a fiscal conservative. Look, I think that the budget that we do allocate should be effective. It should have good ROI, return on investment for the taxpayers. I think that even the Senate and the House here on a state level never could have estimated, we could have never have guessed that the problem would continue to get much worse. It's been bad, and every year it gets worse and worse. And so how do you anticipate for that? And I think they're trying to anticipate for that. Obviously, we could use more funding. Cochise County has 800 people they've arrested for border-related crimes. They've spent millions of dollars, not only in their judicial systems, with their personnel, but also jail expenses that they've had, that they'll not be given money back for that. So I know that these guys are working hard to get us more funding, And we need that funding because we have funding, some of us through Stone Garden, which is a federal grant, which has been very effective. And if we didn't have that, we'd be in big trouble. The state is trying to get us more funding. We need more equipment. We need more. I'm out there doing rescues every day with my helicopter that the county pays for. I'm out doing rescues with Border Patrol for people that the cartels continue to leave behind for dead. And so, yes, we could certainly use some more funding, but I'm also a fiscal conservative, and I want to make sure that that's why I'm here. I'm working with the state, the Senate, I'm working with the House to make sure that the bills we do run have a good return on investment for the taxpayers, and that they're not money being that is poorly spent. And I think these folks behind me understand that. And one more, as far as
just to tack on to that, the answer is whatever they need, we are ready to deliver. Whatever the sheriffs need, we are ready to deliver.
And I'll be honest with you, as sheriffs, we've gotten that message from the House and the Senate here at the state level. We have gotten the message from them that they are here to support us, and they're here to get us the equipment we need, the resources we need, the funding we need, especially where the federal government has really dropped the ball on these things. So we're excited to work with them. We hope that the governor sees this and she'll sign these bills that'll be impactful for our communities, because it impacts us all as Arizonans. And so, and as far as it relates to doing the bills, last year we got in 132323. There was an add-on to that ARS statute that allowed us to hold people accountable that were trafficking humans into this country. Cochise County has been very, very aggressive charging that. We are getting aggressive charging that. You're going to see more of the counties getting aggressive charging that. We're grateful for that bill because that gave us a tool that we didn't have before. And we look forward to getting a few more tools in our belt to be able to hold people accountable that are trafficking human beings and that are taking advantage of human beings who are trying to come to make a better life for themselves.
If I may ask a follow-up.
Yes, sir.
You know, obviously, the legislature knows how to work with the governor on a budget and whatnot. Why is there no bipartisan bill from the, you know, this may be a big question for Senator Peterson, but no bipartisan bill from, you know, with the governor, something that you know that she would be for? Maybe it's increased appropriations or maybe some other idea, but you know, are you working with the governor close enough and, you know, on this issue to actually get something done?
I can answer that.
I'll answer the front end of that. Just I'm going to turn it over to Senator Peterson. On the front end, we've had a few meetings with the governor, and the governor has expressed concern or desire to help us with the border stuff. I can't answer as far as how that's working between the two parties here at the state level, but I can attribute to the governor that she has met with us, and we have expressed our concerns with her. And that's why I hope that she sees through and signs these bills that are beneficial to us, because we've made those concerns known to her. So I'll leave it to Senator Peterson to answer the second part of that.
Here's the answer. Name that Democrat bill that secures the border. Name that time Governor Hobbs sent her staff down or came herself to ask us to work with her on bipartisan legislation. I can tell you, all of my members here who had their bill, they wanted the Democrats to co-sponsor it. So it's not for our lack of trying. So I think the question needs to go to her, because we are willing to do a bipartisan bill. Howie, you've had your question. Who else has a... No, Howie. You've had your question. I want to make sure everybody else gets a question. Anybody?
I had a question
for Sheriff Lamb? Okay, Sheriff Lamb.
Sheriff Lamb, he answered some of it because he was talking about the budget. The way we interpret the law is this. You, the sheriff, you don't answer to nobody behind you. You don't answer to anyone in the White House. You answer to we the people. When they hold the budget on you, since you mentioned the budget, is where the incapacitation comes, why you cannot do your duty? Is it just about money at this point? Or is it lack of leadership from Washington?
Well, you're right, George. Our budget comes from our county first and foremost.
That's what I mean.
And our county has been very good. You know, we've tried to allocate some county funds that will offset some of the strain that it's put on our budgets as local sheriffs. But we also need the state's help, because these are issues that are happening on a state level that are affecting counties. And I don't think that it should be the county's responsibility to bear the burden of all of that. I think that it's appropriate that the states recognize we have an issue and allocate resources, which is what our senators and our House representatives are doing. And I think the governor should also recognize that where the federal government is not meeting their responsibilities, it's put an undue burden on us as well. And I don't think it should be something that the counties carry alone. So that's why we support the funding coming from the state, and making sure that the funding that has existed in the past that they've already allocated to us is appropriately allocated to us, and not held as or reallocated somewhere else. Those should go towards the border issues that we're dealing with.
How's the relationship with you with the governor, Sheriff? Because this is very important. You're the front line, and the front line is not being safe and taken care of. Then we all here we're missing the point.
Yeah, she's not inviting me over to Thanksgiving, but I mean, I think that to her credit, we've had meetings with her. We've expressed these concerns. Her staff is very open to us expressing those concerns to her, and what you can hear the concerns all day long. What I want to see is her hear her concerns in the way of legislation. If she truly hears our concerns, then she should be taking these bills and treating them seriously and hopefully signing them into action, because we've addressed them, they've heard them, they're now putting government at work. The legislative branch is now saying, hey, here's some bills that address the concerns of the sheriffs and law enforcement, and now it's up to you, the governor, to say, yep, we're going to sign these bills into action, and we hope that she does. And that's how we'll know, George, if she's really been hearing us. Yeah.
All right. Anybody else have a question about these bills that we're moving forward?
Back to what I was asking, because you said the governor and the Democrats haven't done anything. She has put money in the budget for border counties, for border sheriffs and such. So you make it sound like
Howie, are you here to hear about the press conference, or are you here to shield for the Democrats? It sounds like you're here to shield for the governor. That's what I'm hearing. I want a serious question. Howie, you've been here forever. You have been here forever. That is a completely ridiculous. That is completely ridiculous. You know this is our priority. You know it. You absolutely know it. Okay, a serious question. A serious question. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I know you mentioned that Democrats and the governor haven't come to you all to co-sponsor bills. And
Yes.
I guess, are these bills, are you discussing them with the governor to see her take or any amendments, or is this just?
Yeah, so Senator Shamp, go ahead.
I reached out quite a bit. This bill was a process. This bill, SB 1231, that she vetoed, our first bill, our number one priority, was a culmination of a lot of work with the sheriff's associations, with talking with DPS, talking with the troopers. What is it that you guys need? They need to be able to enforce the law that the federal government is not enforcing, and we are trying to give them that law so they can. I reached out numerous times. Phone, email, nothing, crickets. The only thing I got was a very, very large, loud veto stamp on social media. That's how I found out. And to me, that says that's what the governor thinks of the citizens of Arizona.
So the answer is yes. We've reached out to the Democrats. We've asked for their help.
And the common denominator, they're always the responses, which is common. Why they won't co-sponsor or even vote for it is because they don't want to get primaried by the Democratic Party. That's it. That's it in a nutshell.
Okay, one last question, and we'll break for one-on-one interviews. Yes, sir. Okay. Yeah.
When are you having this, I guess, media day?
Great question.
So I'm having, well, when you want to. When you want to. Come approach me, we'll go set something up, and I'll bring you down. Any one of you, all y'all, come on down, see what happens down that way.
Maybe talk about your delegation going down.
Yeah, I do have a delegation. I got legislators I'm taking down so they can see what's happening at the board itself. She's saying yeah, but this was for, it was for so I could show the members first, but you know what? Maybe I'll open it up if you'd want to go do it. Do you want to come down?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, why don't you come onto the side and we'll talk? All right. Absolutely.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes, yeah, go ahead.
And guys, if you don't think messaging matters from the governor, look no further than the state of Texas. They're only controlling a 2-mile piece of their border, only 2 miles, and they've changed the messaging to say we're going to hold people accountable that break laws in America, and that has changed the flow to really reducing it next to nothing down in Texas, but it has increased the flow to us because we have failed to have the same messaging. They're trying to get this messaging out from a state level, and the governor getting on board with this type of strong messaging is going to help us in the state of Arizona reduce the flow just like Texas did.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you for helping us get the message out. We've got members here for one-on-one questions if you want to do interviews. So thank you.
Spanish speaking interviews.
Representative Montenegro? Yeah.